Imagine playing a board game where the rules are written to ensure you never move past the first few squares. Every time you try to advance, a wall pops up to block your path. It is impossible to win when the game is intentionally designed for you to lose. This was the economic reality for Black Americans during the era of Jim Crow. Jim Crow refers to a specific period in American history, from the late 1800s through the mid-1960s, defined by state and local laws that enforced racial segregation and specifically targeted Black citizens to prevent them from building savings or owning property. When the game is rigged, you have two choices. You can continue to play by those rules, or your piece can jump off the board and start drawing a completely new path. Across the United States, Black communities chose to build their own path. They opened their own retail stores and constructed their own manufacturing plants, creating a self-contained system of commerce. Because the existing society tried to lock them out of the national economy, they used coordinated business strategies to create an ecosystem that thrived independently. To understand how these independent systems grew, look at the life of Sarah Breedlove. Born in Louisiana in 1867, she was the first person in her family born into freedom, meaning she began her life with no inherited money or land. While living in St. Louis, the combination of poor nutrition and the stress of heavy labor caused her hair to break and fall out, a common problem for women working in harsh conditions. She looked for a solution by enrolling in Poe Row College to study hair care. Using what she learned, she developed her own specific formulas and heated combs designed to treat the scalp and promote growth. She eventually took the name Madam C.J. Walker and moved her business to Indianapolis. She didn't just sell products from her kitchen, she built a factory full of heavy machinery to manufacture her line on an industrial scale. Her business model focused on scaling through education. She founded Lilia College, where she trained thousands of Black women as hair culturists, teaching them the technical skills to sell her products and manage their own regional businesses. By 1910, her company was generating millions in modern-day dollars. This success made her America's first self-made female millionaire, and she became a prominent philanthropist, a person who uses their private wealth to fund community projects and social causes. Madam C.J. Walker demonstrated that by creating a business that solved a community problem, she could create a path for thousands of others to achieve financial stability alongside her. This strategy of community-focused growth reached its peak in the Greenwood district of Tulsa, Oklahoma. This was a 40-block neighborhood designed from the ground up to keep capital within the local community. Leaders like O.W. Gurley and J.B. Stratford were intentional about this design. They purchased land specifically to sell it back to Black entrepreneurs, ensuring the community was composed of property owners rather than renters. This map represents a closed-loop economy. Because segregation meant Black residents were often refused service at white-owned businesses, they built every service they needed within this solid border. Greenwood became home to its own financial institutions, grocery stores, hotels, and theaters. This meant that the residents didn't have to send their paychecks to outside businesses to survive. This diagram shows a dollar bill moving from a home to a local grocery store. Economists call this the velocity of money, a metric tracking how often a dollar is spent within a community over time. In Greenwood, a single dollar might stay for weeks, moving from the grocer to a doctor, then a theater. Each exchange supported a local job, turning over 5 or 6 times before leaving. This rapid circulation created such a high concentration of wealth that the educator Booker T. Washington famously labeled the district Black Wall Street. The success of Greenwood proved that Black communities could achieve total economic independence despite the laws of the time. This concentration of property and capital sparked resentment in the neighboring white community as it challenged the existing social hierarchy. In 1921, a local newspaper printed a sensationalized story about an incident in an elevator involving a young Black man and a white woman. Though the details were unverified, the story acted as a spark for the underlying tensions in the city. An armed mob of white rioters invaded Greenwood. Over the course of 2 days, they burned family homes and businesses. The attack even included the use of private airplanes to drop firebombs on the neighborhood from above. By the time the violence ended, 35 blocks of the city had been destroyed. The schools, the hotels, and the brick buildings that housed the district's banks were reduced to smoldering foundations. Thousands of residents were left homeless, and their accumulated property value was erased. Despite the scale of the loss, survivors of the massacre were never compensated by the state or insurance companies for the destruction of their businesses. This was a deliberate destruction of a successful economic model. The attackers focused on the physical assets of the community, targeting the very things that had allowed Greenwood to operate independently. While the physical buildings in Tulsa were destroyed, the economic strategies that built them survived. The data gathered from the success of Greenwood provided a permanent record of how a community can build its own stability. The core lesson of Madam C.J. Walker and Black Wall Street remains the same. Wealth grows when money stays. By keeping capital circulating within a community, that community gains the ability to fund its own schools, businesses, and futures. This blueprint shows that when people coordinate their resources and support their neighbors, they can build a foundation for growth that remains resilient, no matter what the rules of the game might be.